So can I start first of all, ladies and gentlemen, by thanking you for coming along this morning. You're all incredibly welcome to this Verbal Arts Centre event. We really appreciate the effort you've made to travel from across Belfast and up from Derry. We really appreciate you coming along this morning. Now, just to talk you through the running order, what we would be doing is that I'm going to give you a little introduction to the event and to the project. Then I'm going to show you a short film. And then we'll go straight into the live performances. We have professional actors who are going to come in and perform in the round, so they'll be performing here in front of you. And following each act, you'll see that there's a little opportunity for discussion, but any kind of response that you feel like making to the scene that you've just watched would be useful. And maybe that you don't want to straight away, maybe in the discussion later on, perhaps during the reading room session, that you feel like kind of sharing that. Because this morning is all about your experience of what we're putting on here today. So we're already fulfilling that kind of expectation of mixing genders, of mixing different kind of backgrounds, of mixing geographical locations. So even before we do anything at all, we're already kind of culturally aware and have a good sense of kind of community relations. Crows in the Wire is about the transition of the RUC, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, to the PSNI, the Police Service of Northern Ireland, as a result of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. Now, the play is not the full story of the RUC. It's a very human story. The Verbal Arts Centre interest in this particular story is that we are interested in bringing stories into the cultural space that haven't been heard before, both to tell that particular story, but also to hear other stories and responses to that. So our interest is in the dialogue and discussion that can happen around some of the themes of the Crows in the Wire project. The themes that you'll see in some of the scenes that are going to be performed today is the idea of change, how human beings deal with change, how it presents a challenge to them. The idea of empathy for a situation perhaps that you hadn't thought of before. And the impacts of those changes upon the individual rather than the institution. So for instance, in our steering group we had former officers, we had current serving PSNI, we had former UDR, we had peace and reconciliation people, we had an academic. We also had a Republican ex-prisoner. And those were a microcosm of the type of communities that we wanted the project to go to generate that discussion. Also, very importantly, you'll get a flavour of some of those discussions that took place after the performance. You'll see very different experiences and perspectives and opinions on the themes of the play expressed. We audio recorded a number of the discussions, so you'll see a selection of those. So it'll give you a good sense, a good kind of grounding before you see the actual performance by the actors. How does that sound?
Very good.
I remember when I joined the RUC in 1976, there was no doubt at all that it was an organisation not only involved in policing, but also with protecting the state.
I believe that I was fighting for my community, the right of that community to raise its head above the parapet and being treated as first-class citizens.
One of them suggested that he was looked upon as a person.
Yes.
And not part of an organisation like that some people get it. And but there was a person behind that, which is if people would see things from that point of view, it would change attitudes.
I had a folder to the end of the word. Tracy. Catholic, yeah. Ah, she was beautiful. Tracy. It was a really modern name back in 1972. Not like the two names I was used to. Jean, Nora, Valerie, Dorothy. Tracy. Beautiful. warm, pale and soft. I was still only a wee, 21, and she was 18. Infatuated. Bloody stupid thing looking back now. And then that fucking bomb. Claudia. I could have been home and dry. I feel guilty even thinking that now, never mind saying it. I was sitting at the top of the stairs when he came through the door. My dad. Just like I'd seen him do 1,000 times before. Or at least that's what I thought I saw. What really happened was that he took 2 paces in through the door and then crumpled like he'd been shot. Down on his knees. His head tucked in against his knees. Keening like an animal in pain. Terrible sounds that were coming out of him. Woke Williams. I would have woken the dead. But he couldn't move. He couldn't stop. My mother couldn't move. Well, she went to lift him. It was the only time I've ever heard him curse. Ever. And then the Waynes came into their bedroom, panicking about what the noise was, and then panicking even more when they found out who it was. Margaret, the wastrel. And she started screaming too. I bent down to lift her, and he looked up. The look in his eyes was terrible, haunted, almost wild. Still turns my stomach every time I think about it. It was like death had found a place to be inside him. And my mother got him bundled off in the living room, and I got the Waynes back up in the bed again. And you could still hear him through those wee thin walls. I just couldn't stop crying. Tracy. Well, we said our goodbyes and away she went. Of course, we promised we'd make it work, but the EasyJet hadn't been invented then, so like everything else here, it just withered away. I met her mother once at some event in the library where I was being the face of community policing. I haven't met Tracy since. But I'd like to think she made good. Got a clean break.
What do you think that's the opening scene in the play? Any thoughts as to what that scene might have been about?
One of the biggest things is he's a super actor, that guy. And he put it across really great. Now, you wouldn't believe, I was talking to my next door neighbour yesterday, and he, nothing to do with the RUC or anything like that there, but he had the same circumstances with the girl that he was going with up in West Belfast. The girl didn't say anything to him. The brothers did. Warned him off not to come back. Didn't take any notice. They came to his house in East Belfast and told him not to come back. They never saw that girl again. It just reminds me of the story there. His whole life was taken over by that incident in his father.
It's and the writer has based his work on conversations with people, so similar to the conversation with relatives. Thanks for that.
That was a true life situation.
So you feel it's something you can recognise?
Oh yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised just how often that what has come up there is exactly what sums up. It's happened to him every day of the week. No, it was.
Same thing happened to my mother. My mother met the love of her life and couldn't marry him for the same reasons.
Yeah.
But that was her choice. Nobody put any, but it was the community she lived in who put that pressure on her. So when she remarried, it was never very satisfactory because and that affected her whole life. But it also affected the kids and the kids that she had because she was never happy after. So it is a very true thing because you can see the deep emotional impact it had on him.
What do you think about that kind of scene as opening a performance that's dealing with individuals who are in the police? Is it the kind of thing you'd expect to see?
I never thought it was as serious as that. I thought it was really, really brought it home that, I mean, I knew there was problems, but I didn't think it was as bad as that. As crucial as that.
I have to apologise here. I just couldn't understand the first part of it at all. The boy coming on his knees, I was waiting someone did a bang or something. I just didn't catch it at all.
I can talk you through that. What he's doing is that the scene opens with that character thinking back. And it's because the night of the changeover, or any change in anybody's life, makes you kind of think back sometimes. You know, if you're facing change, one of the ways that we deal with it perhaps is kind of thinking what's happened in the past. So that scene is about that character. His mind's just spinning back to things that
So why did he leave Tracy? Why?
We don't hear any more than that.
Tracy, we don't know what happened there.
No.
You never seen her again, you say?
No.
Never met her again?
Just went through my head, where did she go?
And it's the motion of that night that's letting his mind kind of look back. So as well as that story about Tracy, he's also the backstory to that person that came through the door is his father. His father was an ambulance driver. So his father had witnessed.
I thought his father was an RUC man as well.
Oh, right. His father was an ambulance driver?
Yeah.
Right,
I
okay.
understand now.
So
No,
he's
okay.
thinking back to the effect it had on him and his brothers and sisters to see their father. So they weren't witness to the violent act, but they saw the effect that it had on their father as their children. But I think in terms of, you almost don't need to know that kind of backstory. It gives you a wee bit more information. But I think that you said, Bill, in terms of the acting, it's something that's kind of conveyed. You don't kind of know the whole story, but in a sense, your own kind of experience can kind of fill in some of those gaps.
Yeah.
Is there any other kind of, in terms of the character coming in, he's in full uniform, apart from the hat. But his uniform is very different from what he's actually saying. What does that do to, as you're kind of looking at that character who's in a full, police uniform, including boots. But he is speaking in a way perhaps that you don't hear police officers speak. How do you think that kind of works? Is that useful?
It's poetic when he said that with his father, it was like death had come to live inside him, which is very poetic, which you didn't expect to see or hear from the characters.
One of the, I'll kind of share an earlier experience of taking the project out to a group with you. One of the first groups, obviously, that we took the project while it was still kind of in gestation, when we're still working through workshops, how the drama element works, how the discussion element works. We piloted it with the Phoenix organisation. The Phoenix organisation cares for ex-service personnel, not just police officers, but army and prison officers. And we went to their convention with our scenes. It wasn't live scenes; it was rehearsed readings. We recorded them specially, but basically it's the same script that we were listening to. And because the play does have strong language at various points, I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning. I'm mentioning it now. You'll hear strong language in some of the scenes. There was a couple of people who felt that was something that they didn't feel in agreement with. They felt that it wasn't necessary, and they felt that it kind of detracted from their kind of enjoyment of what they were watching. But that was a good point for discussion, because if somebody raises something that they don't agree with, it's still a good point for discussion. So it turned into an excellent discussion. But the gist of it was, it wasn't that police officers didn't speak like that behind the scenes. It was the fact that it was being made public through a performance. It was the fact that the police officers were shown as being angry or frustrated, and they were expressing this through strong language. And they were slightly uncomfortable with the idea of actually kind of going behind the uniform, or perhaps making people appear perhaps too vulnerable. Would anybody have any kind of thoughts on that? Is it a good idea to make yourself vulnerable? It's not always easy. Whether you're wearing a uniform or not, I don't think it's always easy.
Did he make a wee inference there? There's a police were, in West Belfast, the police were less respected than the other parts of Belfast. Was there an inference in that? Is wee bit there? Did that come across, or was that the film bit?
That might have been the film.
In the film, there's a wee inference that you were a bit more unhappy up in West Belfast as opposed to the rest of Belfast.
I don't think that the writer would have thought that. Perhaps that was a response from some of the people at Taylor or something, because I know that the writer, and we supported his writing in terms of making it a story that is applicable across kind of urban areas or rural areas and to a range of audiences. Yes.
Enjoyable is not a word I would use as in sitting here listening to the actor speak. I was aware that he had a uniform on, but when he started to speak, in my own mind, I went through what he was talking about, and I found it uncomfortable and horrible. And I think, where we live, there's thousands and thousands of people who have witnessed, or we're all really, in one way or another, been affected, either directly or indirectly. And it just seems to me that there's an awful lot of pain, and an awful lot of sorrow, and an awful lot of anguish, and it's unpleasant to have to witness it, whereas most people, I would imagine, are trying to forget it.
Well, that's a case as well, and it's something that there's different arguments for how people either. I suppose it's to do with how we deal with the past,
Yes.
and whether drama and things like reading rooms are an effective way of doing that.
I'm not saying it's wrong,
Oh no, I know what you're saying, yes,
but
absolutely, yes.
I find it difficult to witness. And I think that regardless of what, he could have been in a number of different outfits,
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
from a number of different perspectives, from a number of different community, whatever. It's all pain. It's all human. And
Yeah.
people have suffered, and that's a sad thing about it all.
And that's a really important point, that it's the humanity that can be portrayed, that we all find response to.
Once he started to speak, I just took the uniform away.
Yes.
That could have been a minister standing there. That could have been anything standing. The uniform just, once he started to tell his life and what had happened to him, the uniform just went for me. It could have been anybody.
Yes.
Which
Which is good. It shows that the kind of themes that we're trying to draw out kind of transcend the differences sometimes that a uniform or another clothing can cause. Thank you all for that.
I was just going to say, you're saying about the vulnerability.
Yes.
What was he going to do with that vulnerability? Was that going to make him softer? Was that going to make him angry? What was that going to do to him? Maybe it will go on in the rest. But you see, depending on your perspective, that vulnerability, it's how he's going to use that vulnerability that's going to define how in the end you're going to view him.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then again, how
Is it
people
you know?
respond to
Yeah.
that as an audience, whether it makes them
Absolutely.
feel slightly under threat,
Yeah.
whether it makes them feel
Yeah.
people open, depending on your own experience, that will affect how you
Yeah.
read that scene.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, there's an old tale that a man has 3 loves in his life. The first one is the puppy love, so you get to make all your mistakes. So the second one you meet is the one you marry. The third one you fall in love with is when you sense the end is near. Your deathbed bride. I take it you're going on a date.
Yeah. How'd you guess?
I could smell the desperation.
That's all the sarcasm today, by the way.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a wee bit pissed off. It wasn't a good day to begin with, but sure, you never are. And then, I got hit with that paint. It's of course it's a hobby of mine. And nothing I enjoy more than a leaving rolling around a couple of acres of crown emulsion. That's why I enjoy coming to work so much. Because some days you get to do it with the kind indulgence and expense of the street urchins of the surrounding districts. And then I come back here to you trying to gas me, be smelling like a Hoover's handbag, whilst whistling Republican songs. Sure, how could the day get any better? As we both know, it will.
Sorry. And I don't know where you're cleaning it. Not been needed after today.
It's not really the point.
Just bin it, Jack. Embrace the change.
Is that what you're planning to do with yours, is it? Just bin it?
Well, all the new stuff's arrived. Have you not seen it? It's great. It's all sitting there in the lotto. I left it mine. Well, at least I think it's mine.
Is it marked Skinny Shorters? If so, it's definitely yours.
No. DA. David Anderson. It's good, that.
Oh, there's that detective's brain. But Skinny Shorthouse would have cleared up any doubt. You know, height restrictions when you joined up, sure there wasn't a wee man.
No.
And very few requirements of any kind at that stage. Come one, come all. Just don't be a crowd.
Here. I might try it on.
And be see, you can try it on from the very day and where you got here.
Oh, here. Here, this looks great. Make you feel like a real policeman.
I beg your pardon. What did you just say?
No,
Something about making you feel like a real policeman?
that's not what I meant. I meant like a modern policeman. That's what I meant, like a modern policeman.
As opposed to the Neanderthals of the RUC, you mean?
Well,
And by the way, should it not be police officer? Remember, you have to surrender your balls to this process as well. No men, no women, just machines, please. That way, what if they want to turn you off, it's less hassle, because there's no hormones to get in the way.
fuck's sake, Jack, look, you knew this was happening. You're just going to have to embrace the change.
That's twice you've said that. Have they got that in a poster somewhere? Or have they just programmed it into your chip? Embrace that change. That's like asking a dog to love the stick that beats it. And as well, they don't let us out in the streets around here too often. You'd be going around hugging everybody. Embrace that change. Would you listen to yourself?
God, Jack, look, I knew you were in bad form tonight, but just got to get over it.
Well, if you'd stop putting me in bad form and get out of that dog's dinner thing. Anyway, where's the bloody tie?
There isn't one.
There isn't one.
No one check, it's open necked.
You fucking... I don't believe you. Oh, and what'll be shoulder pads instead of Kevlar next? And on what side does Sir make the dress has truncheon? The left or the
Oh,
right?
you should actually see the gear they have for the riots.
Gear.
Ah, it's all sitting in the lot. Here, look, I'll go grab it. Here, I'll grab yours too.
I don't want it. And it's equipment, not gear. Gear something teenagers smoke.
I thought that from the young fellow to the officer, I mean, there was big gaps in different aspects. You know, he couldn't see him as being with the public, he'd get the same respect. And even down to the detail of the uniform, you know, he didn't have a tie on, or wasn't going to be an authority. And then his size, he did refer to his size, you know, didn't bother any longer what size you are.
So we've got a sense of one character caring a lot about the uniform, and the other perhaps having a different kind of set of expectations around it. He's more forward-looking, or is a more of a kind of informal kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And why do you think it meant so much to that character, the older character, Jack? Why do you think his uniform meant that much?
It's changing attitude, is it not? The problem. They're not prepared to move forward.
Yeah.
No, he has served that and he was proud of it.
That's well, yes.
And he didn't want to give it up. You can understand that.
So there's a mixture of reasons.
A lot of his colleagues died and all for that uniform.
And particularly if you're in any organisation that involves a uniform, any aspect of emergency services, your work and yourself becomes very identified, I think, with how you appear in public. So certainly those are, for both of those reasons.
And then one section got preference to the other.
In terms of those characters.
Religion.
Yeah, possibly. Any other comments on that, Steve?
Well, the big thing for me means the policeman with the uniform, he demanded respect of the public, and the public gave him respect.
Yeah.
He reckoned this other guy wasn't going to get the same respect.
No.
He's younger generation.
Yeah. He's the older general.
But he had set the standard, he had set the standards of the RUC, and the other people were coming in, he felt were going to be lowering these standards.
And it was a compromise.
Mhm.
He feel it was a compromise, he was being compromised. They were all being compromised from his point of view.
From that character's point of view, those are very insightful comments about the idea of kind of compromise. I think also there's the idea of perhaps fear of the unknown,
Yeah.
fear
Yeah.
of change,
Yeah.
because the drama of this piece comes from the fact it's set on the night of the changeover.
He didn't want any change at all. He just was afraid of change.
He was deeply afraid of the change. And perhaps that's why there's such a kind of contrast with the younger character. He's more forward-looking, he hasn't come through the same set of experiences. So for me that piece is all about change and the fear of change. And it's certainly to do with perhaps different attitudes to the past, and it's something that's still with us now. It's how we deal with the past and how different people feel differently about it. Certainly.
If the policeman doesn't see a change in the public attitude, then he's afraid then to move into a new stage. The public must change their attitude as well as the police.
Yes, it involves, when big change happens, it doesn't just happen to a couple of people, you know, it affects communities at
It
different
affects the
levels.
whole community, not just the police alone. It happens to the whole community. You've got to have the attitude. But that attitude is not there, and not even there today.
Do you still think there's a fear of change, or people become more entrenched?
No,
in
there's
that?
still an attitude there yet today.
An attitude in terms of a fear, or
Well, I don't know what fear, what it is. I think
a lack of understanding?
lack of understanding, probably as much as that.
The morale of the police isn't as good now, I don't think. They were even say up on the TV.
Well, at this moment in time, the TV's running an advert to encourage people to join the police.
Yeah.
And you hear the new stipulations. They're looking for more Catholics and for more younger people.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the emphasis is made.
Yeah.
18 to 57.
Pardon?
18
18 to 57. You
Can't
can
see many 57s getting them.
It's nice of them to offer them.
That's the bit I laughed at. You
It
know,
sounds good. It sounds good.
Yes, it does.
It's a good time by the people.
Are you going to go better?
I'm just 1 year over.
That's a pity. It's the final scene in the play, and it's certainly one of the strongest, and certainly one of the ones that provoke most kind of thought afterwards. I think when I've looked at kind of evaluations, when people have either attended a performance or come through a kind of more kind of informal workshop situation such as this, this scene is quite memorable.
Here.
This scene's called Best Friend.
I had a friend once. Tom was his name. It was one morning, early November. There was a traffic accident outside the wee village. I remember very clearly. It was one of those beautiful winter mornings. The mist hangs heavy on the fields. All the sounds you hear seem muffled by it. Anyway, I'd done my talking and threatened the two boys sufficiently to make sure they weren't going to end up in the ditch, clanging each other in the head. I saw Tom's car coming up the hill. I would have recognised the bloody thing for miles. Ford Cortina, midnight blue, all except the rear passenger door. That was white. And somebody had primed him about 18 months previous. And he managed to get a replacement door, but not bothered his arse getting it painted. Security risk or what? Like I said, we were young bucks, untouchable. He told me afterwards that he'd phoned the station looking for me. They told him I was away at the RTA, so he must have been looking for something. The officer at the junction just waved them on through. I think he recognised the motor as well. See, from where I was standing, there was a bend on the road about 100 yards away. A treacherous little curve, doing anything over 20. The car slowed, coming on it. And as I stood and watched, there was this muffled, crumpling sound. It just stopped the word. The Cortina seemed to hop. Bits and pieces of her buckled. The windscreen shattered, fell out. The front wheel on the passenger side came rolling up the hill towards me. The rest of the car just shuddered to a halt. No smoke, no real flames. The two boys behind me were shouting. I started running down the hill towards Tom's car. Couldn't find him. We were all around the windows looking to see where he was, and we couldn't find him. Found him in the footwell behind the passenger seat. I went round and got the door open. The frame was all buckled, but I got it open. Got my arms underneath him and dragged him out onto the road. He was smoking. You know those streamers you sometimes get at a man's birthday party? The ones that make that annoying noise and blow out and curl back in on themselves. That's what went through my mind when I saw his legs. Or rather, where his legs should have been. Strands of wispy flesh. That's a red elastic thing just trailing off. I thought he was still alive. Stupid. Young bucks. Invincible. Untouchable. I held him and I talked to him until the ambulance made a relief. Got me away from him, got him into the body bag. Away. how many times I've told that story? Once. You. Here today. You're my confessor. Right. All the blood off the walls. Good. Now, somebody hit a restart button. Here we go again.
going to do this slightly differently. I'm just going to walk around the circle and I'm just going to touch some people on the shoulder. And if you wouldn't mind just saying just one word in response to that. Just one word.
He looks wonderful too, you know. So, sort of welcome, you know.
I couldn't hear it very well, to be honest.
Linda's story.
Horrendous.
Frightening.
Frightening.
Memories.
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 More memories.
Frightening.
Frightening.
Ruined life.
Ruined life.
It's happening all around us.
Happening all around the world. Very near and very frightening.
And you to the country. And you to the country. To the green 6 months. Sounds rather killing.
Doesn't seem to be an answer to it.
Answers.
How could anyone do that?